the thing that really boggled our mind was when we started polling different people in different categories of people, what we found is this had an overwhelming support from everyone. One of the categories that we were polling for was a married with the main breadwinner was a union member, and in that group of people, married, the main breadwinner was a union member. 61% of those people said that they would support right to work legislation or a right to work amendment if it came up on the ballot. That's phenomenal. A couple of things that when I do a presentation and talk before union groups is I want to reassure them. Workplace freedom does not do away with unions. It does not do away with your right to join a union. Workplace freedom does not force you to not join a union. You have the choice. You have the freedom of choice. If you wish to join a union and take advantage of what they offer, so be it. If you don't want to join the union and you wish to go it on your own and be your own negotiator, so be it. One of the common things I hear about, they ask me when I talk to them about this, is they say, what about freeloaders? Everybody know what a freeloader is when I talk about unions? Yeah? What a freeloader is right now in today's climate, or in today's law, if a union comes in and they are and I use the term exclusive bargaining unit for the employees at a company. What that means is, if they sign in their contract that they are the exclusive bargaining unit, that means they must bargain for everyone, whether they're a member of that union or not. Unions choose to do this. Unions choose to take on freeloaders when they use that term exclusive in their contract. If unions did not put that word exclusive in their contract, the unions would only have to support their members. They would not have to support people that are not members of their union. So I kind of tell people, I said, there really is no such thing as a freeloader. These are captive passengers. They have no choice. When you go into a business that has a union there, you have no choice. You will join the union or you will pay the fair share fee. And the union is going to represent you whether you want to or not, if they have that exclusive clause. If the unions, I dare unions, I mean, anytime I do a presentation or talk in front of a union hall, I says, if you want to improve your union, and the thing I love to do is, I says, if your union is crappy, if your union does nothing but, they're there on Friday when you get your paycheck with their hand out. Of course, they're not there on Friday because it's taken out automatically. They take out the dues out of your paycheck. But when it comes to problems or time where you need representation, it doesn't seem like they're anywhere around. Workplace freedom is going to improve that union. That union is going to have to represent you. They're going to have to do a good job of representing you. And they're going to have to do it at a reduced cost. Because if they don't, you're going to leave the union. Isn't competition wonderful?
Absolutely.
They will have to improve. So I tell people, workplace freedom is good for the unions. If you're in a crappy union, they're going to have to improve or they're going to go out of business, just like any other business. I think that's wonderful. Okay, so how do we make this happen? If you're not actively working on workplace freedom and you want help, I need your help. I need people to go out and do this. Again, it's not going to happen in Columbus. If it's going to happen, it's going to be you guys, you girls. You're the ones that are going to be standing out there on hot days like this, collecting signatures. And you're the ones that are going to get those 600,000 signatures, and you're the ones that's going to get this put on the ballot. I need your help. Two things. I need you to sign this thing. I need you to sign this that you want Ohio to become a right-to-work state. You want Ohio to join the freedom of choice in whether you have to join a union or not. And then number two is I need you to help with this. Come see me after this meeting today, and I'll sign you up, and I'll show you what has to be done, and we'll get you started. Lucas County is very, very active in this venture. Right now, I think Lucas County is actually one of the predominant union counties in the state of Ohio, the 88 counties. And in Lucas County, we've got over 17,000 signatures already in Lucas County. And everyone that signs this, it says, hell yeah, let's do this. We need to get this done. We need to make Ohio right to work. So see me after this meeting. I'll be hanging around. You'll recognize the hat. And I love to talk politics, not just workplace freedom, but I'll be more than happy to talk to you on why some things work, why some things don't. And if you're thinking about running for an office here in Lucas County or Toledo, Ohio, visit me, because we're very, very active in getting people run for office. Come see me. Mark on your calendar, we got 2 workplace freedom workshops coming up in Lucas County. On the 17th of July at the West Branch Library on Sylvania Avenue, we're having a workplace freedom workshop. Starts at 6 o'clock. And then we're going to have a repeat performance out in Point Place on the 23rd of July at 6 o'clock at the Point Place Branch Library. Stop at either one of those 2 locations. You'll hear about 45 minutes to an hour of why we need to do this in Ohio. What's the ramifications if we don't do this in Ohio? And what's the ramifications for jobs in Ohio by doing this or by not doing that? So the 17th of July, West Branch Library on Sylvania, or the 23rd of July at the Point Place Library. Hope to see you guys there. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker comes all the way from Sandusky.
Whoa!
He has been accused of being an anarchist.
Yay!
Even though he only portrays how a government of the free should conduct itself. Beaten down by his own ignorance, he strove to learn what he did not know. He became a reader of many books to preferably recondition his future. He makes every effort to enlighten people to learn from Ron Paul and begs that all Americans will fight for the total dismantling of the Federal Reserve. He is now to be known as the Doctor of Common Sense. Let's hear it for Ralph Harrison.
Put that mic right up to your mouth.
What's that?
There you go. Put it right up to your mouth.
We have surveillance line over here.
Yeah.
I don't think I like this side.
Fortunate for me, because being an anarchist, I expect to be surveilled. The issue, I think, facing the American people lies within themselves. We have become a nation of violence. We practice coercion, and we support the police state. We elect candidates who demand law and order. We pass laws expecting something to change, but we don't look to ourselves as the solution. When I talk about freedom or liberty, I try to explain it in terms of voluntary exchange. The only way anything ever occurs, any business transaction ever happens, is through voluntary exchange. It has to be win-win, or it doesn't, or the economy doesn't continue to flow. To have voluntary exchange, you have to have free association amongst people, along with the right to travel. Adding those 2 characteristics to property rights, whether that means keeping the fruit of your labor, which means no taxation, it also means respect for private property. So that if you aggress against my property, I have a right of action against you. That is the only thing, and that is the only way anything will ever change or improvements be gained. To try to summarize it into a different context, I'm holding an article in which I read this week, which tries to refer to the big issue as one of expansionism versus neutrality. And when you think of the number of issues that surround those 2 polar thoughts, let me just read a few to you. War versus peace. Empire versus republic, inherent executive power versus constitutional limits, police state versus a free country, surveillance state versus the right to privacy, foreign invasions versus respect for international law, interference in foreign domestic affairs versus non-interference, superpower versus multipolar world, utopia spreading of democracy versus minding one's own business. And then one we all know very well, fiat money versus sound money. High taxes versus, in my opinion, taxes whatsoever, but high taxes versus low taxes. Unpayable public debt versus sound finances. We enjoy the advantage of dollar hegemony by printing money and exporting it to the world. Stagnant income versus growing income. The wonderful military-industrial complex versus a small military, or unfortunately we now have the information-industrial complex, which may even be bigger and worse than the military-industrial complex. Militarism versus business. Government secrecy versus open government. Government-controlled media versus the free press, whatever that is. Government propaganda versus truth. Unlimited government power versus limited government power. A scrap of paper versus the Constitution. These are all issues that, once you begin to grasp them, brings change in the way you deal with people. You no longer rely on force and coercion to get your way. You recognize that competition of ideas, competition of choices is what brings a peaceful society. The more force that we use, the more laws we pass, then we pass more laws. And the net result is, now a war on terror, which then we have to then record all of our telephone conversations and all of our communications within the NSA. It all comes down to expansionism versus neutrality, peaceful cooperation. Every one of us are here today because of peaceful cooperation. It's all around us every day. We drive our cars up and down streets every day with peaceful cooperation. All good things come from peaceful cooperation. All bad things come from force and coercion. The solution is change your attitude so that you understand that, explain that to your loved ones, and one by one, maybe we'll reach a point where people understand what peaceful cooperation means. Expansionism will only result in heartache. I hope my point gets across. I've listened to, interestingly, I listened to Randy with his speech, and he touched on many of what I have said. I just hope that I have brought it to you more clearly. Thank you.
Thanks! Threw me under the bus!
No questions?
I don't know if you saw it. Oh, my mom loved the pig.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, we're going to start at 5:30, Harry and I's debate, but I want to talk about one other thing that I'm really passionate about before we get into that. And I titled this meeting a Freedom, Liberty, a Debate. And that's really what this is about. The only way we're going to win is by promoting, encouraging, and pushing freedom. Freedom is the one issue that we will never be defeated on. As long as there are people that breathe, freedom will be something that they want. And that's what I was trying to get at with Randy, is that's what it's about, is freedom. That's how you reach the kids. That's what they like about Ron Paul. That's what they like about libertarians, is freedom. Innately, they understand that. Okay? And so that is what this is all about today. And so that's when we talk a little bit about how to instill that freedom, that idea of freedom and liberty into our neighborhoods, our families, everything like that. One of the things that we need to do is become more self-sufficient. And I think Ralph talked about that. We need to become more self-sufficient, but we can't provide everything for ourselves. So we need to be able to network with our neighbors in our neighborhoods. This is where we can make the biggest difference. This is where we can start to change minds and hearts and change the culture. If we can get our neighborhoods gathered together, whether it's community gardens or just parties, which example, I know I've talked about this before, I've done with having neighbors over to the house. And we talked about everything but politics, but I always couched everything in the idea of freedom. Okay, and no one doesn't like freedom. So every debate, everything we talk about must be couched in the argument of freedom. That's why this freedom workplace freedom amendment will pass, if we can get it on the ballot, is because it's about freedom. Who doesn't want to have the freedom to choose to be in a union or not? It is, it's the ultimate pro-choice, freedom. So that is what this whole debate's about, and it's what we need to get into our neighborhoods, our houses, our sphere of influence. At the at holiday events, it needs to be all about freedom. I know it can be awkward, but we're well past the time where we can be silent. And I think if you're here tonight, you understand that. So, Will, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You wanna talk a little bit about our ideas? Because Will and I, we have gone back for, how long has it been, 2 years? Talking about community involvement and getting integrated through everything, because let's face it, if we as conservatives want smaller government, we have to be willing to help those that can't function in a society. There are people that need assistance, whether it's food, whether it's healthcare, whether it's every other aspect. That's where we as a society need to be able to come together and provide that for people. And so I know Will and I have been working on trying to brainstorm how do we get the community involved to help, those that are hungry, so that we can get people off food stamps, that they can defeat more farm bills, that we can roll back the power that DC has. And integrating our communities is the only way that we can do that. Do you want to talk about it all or no? I'll just put you on the spot.
A little bit.
The thing that I've had trouble with, I agree with what Scott has said, and I actually sat down last night trying to figure out what I would say today if I were to prepare a talk and present ideas to you. The world is so diverse. There's so many different mindsets out there that look for satisfying their essential needs for life. Liberals look toward the government to include collectives to provide for them with a group negotiation, like with unions and such, and welfare. And I think there's also a place for welfare and the need to provide for those who are totally beyond the ability to provide for themselves. But there are also a lot of people that have just become accustomed to being given handouts. They've forgotten what it means to actually begin to trust one another, to just ask for help. And the asking for help, I think, has been also eroded because the ease of resources, the access to resources is so easy nowadays. You just got to walk to a supermarket and you have everything you need. There's no longer a need for us to connect to one another for the basic needs of life. Entertainment's on TV, on the internet. We don't need each other to get together in a group community like this and have a band up here and play music for entertainment. So we can go home, listen to music on our stereo on our way home from here. And so it's the enormity of the culture, the entertainment culture, the news culture, the ease of access of resources that I think has drove us to become disconnected from one another for our basic needs which actually make us, I think, human. And what I think we need to do, and this is no small thing, but it is also easy. It's just, like Scott said, just start asking people.